of Hollywood.com.
All right, let's go right to him. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, off a real busy week out in Northern California, back with us. And on top of everything else, he comes out with a Tua article here just recently, just a little bit of time ago. And last night, our general manager, they had a private function at Hard Rock Stadium for 1,000 fans. And he talked about it a little bit. And it was kind of like, he's done a lot of great things, but we haven't made a decision on whether we're going to keep him. So we saw a little bit of everything. Mike, what do you think is going to happen there?
I think they've made the decision on whether they're going to keep him. I think what they're trying to make a decision on is how they're going to go about extricating themselves from a situation where they owe him $54 million fully guaranteed for this year, and they got $99 million in dead cap money to deal with over the next 2 seasons. Could they trade him? Is there a trade to even be done? How much money would they have to pay to facilitate a trade? Hell, Joe, there could end up being a Brock Osweiler type trade. If you remember that one,
yeah.
The Texans actually sent a second-round pick to the Browns to get them to take Osweiler's contract. So you could have a bunch of different possibilities. I think they're trying to figure out how they're going to remove Tua Tagovailoa from the roster, with the one potential sliver of a caveat that they would just pay him the $54 million and keep him on the roster. I just don't think it's good for anyone as they're trying to turn the page on the old regime for Tua to still be there. I think he's gone. Just a question of when, where, and how.
Hey, Mike, just to follow up to that, I truly don't know this. There's no sarcasm in this because I've been pounding him pretty hard here for a while. But so Tua, what's his market going to be like? How do we think other teams are looking at him that need quarterbacks, knowing everything that we know here? They must know where they are, that all of a sudden all these teams going to be interested in Tua.
Well, Joe, it's not going to be $55 million a year, which could potentially qualify Chris Greer to be fired again. I can't overestimate what a horrible contract that was. He was still under contract for 1 more year under his 5th-year option. They gave him $55 million a year, something close to that, 53, 54, 55, whatever it is. They owe him 54 this year. They weren't competing with anyone. They were bidding against themselves. It was ridiculous, and now they're paying for it. So I don't know what the market's going to be. I don't know that anyone's going to give him a starting job. Now, there's a smaller number of viable quarterbacks available this year than there were last year. But, I mean, like the Vikings want someone to compete with J.J. McCarthy. Do the Vikings think that Tua is the guy? I mean, when Tua has everything working perfectly, he can run an offense incredibly well. When you throw a wrench into the equation, he can't make something happen. And he's got the injury history. He's not a large guy, and the concussions were a problem. I don't have an obvious destination for him.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is one at this point.
The other part of this, a name that's become real popular more and more all the time, is this Malik Willis, who's got a limited amount of, I think, 6 career starts and numbers. They've been impressive in what he's done, especially the last 2 years in Green Bay. It just hadn't been a lot of them. And I just wonder what kind of money he's going to get. I mean, some of these other guys, they keep talking about some of these other quarterbacks, but they've played a lot, and he hasn't. So I just don't know how you go about giving this guy what kind of money he could be getting to come in as compete as a starter or be given the job.
Well, Scott Mitchell hadn't played a lot. I know we're going way back into the archives here, but he got to play that year that Dan Marino had the torn Achilles, and there was a competition for his services, and he ended up going to Detroit and playing well there. When Willis has played the last 2 years, and he's got a weird career arc. He was a 3rd-round pick of the Titans. He played some, fell out of favor. They gave him away for a 7th-round pick, and he has been very good when called upon to play in place of Jordan Love the last 2 seasons. So I think he's got the potential. The problem is, Joe, if the Dolphins are interested in Malik Willis and there's the clear Green Bay connection with Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan, how are you going to pay him when you got $99 million over the next 2 years tied up in Tua Tagovailoa? I could see something like, I mean, and let's go as most obvious low-hanging fruit as we can. Matt LaFleur's brother, Mike, is the new coach of the Cardinals. They're going to need a quarterback. They're going to be moving on from Kyler Murray, I believe. Malik Willis makes sense there. I think Willis is going to be a starter somewhere, and he's going to have a chance to do on a week-in and week-out basis the things we've seen him do on limited opportunities in Green Bay.
Yeah, man. A lot of people agree with you, by the way, that have seen it, that I've talked to, think he's got a chance not to just be a Band-Aid, but to get a chance to play. Hey, Mike, the other one has to do with our minor league system, college football. Trinidad Chambliss got that 6th year, man, got it. And he was, I think a lot of people thought he was at maybe the third best quarterback in this draft behind just Mendoza and Simpson. And he goes, no. And you think that's more that he heard from agents, or he felt he needed another year because he wasn't going to get drafted high?
I think he wants to maximize where he goes. You know, if you're going to go high, there's value in getting to the NFL and starting the clock towards your second contract, because if you pan out as an NFL quarterback, that second contract is where you make your big money. But he'll make money to stay at Ole Miss. He'll make more there than he would have made as a third, fourth round draft pick.
Yep.
And he can do what he can to improve his stock and get drafted higher. And that was the gist of some of the testimony from Joe Judge yesterday. The testimony that wasn't noticed nearly as conspicuously as his beliefs about, you know, not waking up dad to help change diapers and feed the baby because dad needs his sleep because he's got football practice the next day.
Right. Hey, Mike, on top of everything we've been talking about, I got to ask you another one that's starting to pop up, this prediction markets. How is the league dealing with this, the National Football League?
Oh, well, there was congressional testimony submitted by Jeff Miller, who's both the head of PR and the head of health and safety for the NFL. And I've been saying for years, those two jobs don't mesh. You can't do both, but they've had him do both for several years now. He had in that written congressional testimony a lot of concerns about the prediction markets, and then he was making the rounds last week at Radio Row, and all of a sudden they seem to like the prediction markets. And it's just like legalized gambling, Joe. Oh. They loved it. No, they hated it, and then they loved it. They loved it once they realized how much money they could make off it. And I think the NFL sees a revenue stream in prediction markets. The whole thing is nuts to me.
Oh.
Betting on whether or not Mark Wahlberg will go to the Super Bowl, betting on the weirdest stuff. And there's so much inside information that can infect the process. That's what troubles me. There's plenty of inside information in football, but that's mainly like with injuries and game plans. These entire wagers in the prediction markets are premised on if people know the truth. The first song in the Bad Bunny set at the halftime show. Joe, they taped the entire show Friday in the event that there was some sort of a catastrophic technical failure, and they had to play it on Sunday. Everybody knew, connected to the production, what the first song was going to be. You could bet on what the first song was going to be. There's no way they can police that inside information.
Yeah, that's a problem right there, because that's one of the biggest we've been talking about with the gambling in general to start with. Hey, speaking of Bad Bunny, what'd you think of the show, man? Everybody got an opinion.
Oh, I thought it was awesome. And it makes me want to go back and relearn Spanish. I took 3 years of it in high school, and I don't remember much. But I want to know what the words are. But I've been listening to it all week, driving around in my car with I'd have the windows down if it wasn't so damn cold. But, yeah, I just think it was great. And it just exuded happiness and joy. The moment at the end where he says, God bless America, and then rattles off all of the various countries that make up South America, Central America, and North America, I thought that was a powerful statement. And, you know, we know that the broader context is that this show got sucked into our current outrage and counter-outrage machinery, but I think it was very uplifting. I think it was very positive. I heard from a viewer who was in Mexico to watch the Super Bowl at a resort with his wife, and wherever they were in a club, and there were 200 people there, and they were Mexican, and they sang along every word for the full 13 minutes. And it's just a magical experience to have that all around you, the whole thing, coming from the screen, coming from the speakers, and everybody in the bar singing along to the Bad Bunny songs.
So I got to ask you. By the way, I knew you were going to go strong on that. That was. I actually thought the entertainment part of it was great. I obviously didn't like you did not know Spanish. I asked my wife what she thought.
Hey, Joe, did you know this? I'm sorry to interrupt you. The football that he had was an actual vintage NFL football that they got from Wilson with the half-white stripe on top. They used to, for late afternoon and night games, allow that half-white stripe. An actual NFL ball that they got from Wilson.
Wow. I you know what? I did read that and about the ball and talking about that. Hey, so want to ask you about the first overall pick before Mendoza's from down here. Is there any chance people, and I know we're going to get real creative and conspiracy theories here as the draft gets closer. There's no way the Raiders get this bunch to get a ton of picks and move off Mendoza as the number one pick overall. Do you believe that will happen?
Well, Clint Kubiak said this week, he's the new coach of the Raiders, obviously. There's a lot of tape to watch before they make that decision with the number one overall pick. Look, there's been some general steam out there about whether or not they would try to get Lamar Jackson away from the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know that anything's going to happen there, but it's at least been discussed. Mendoza is viewed as a perfect fit for Clint Kubiak because he can run that offense, drop back passes, the play action passes, the athleticism to sprinkle in some design runs. Kubiak is regarded as such a great coach because he sees the game and calls the game through the eyes of the quarterback. But every quarterback who comes from college to the NFL, it's a projection. Is it going to work? And when you look at all the holes the Raiders have, if somebody makes them an offer they can't refuse,
yep.
Remember 6 years ago, the Bengals were just stubborn. Like Stephen Ross wanted Joe Burrow, and there was nothing that the Bengals were going to listen to. And I remember saying at the time, at a certain point, you're committing malpractice if you don't at least consider what you could do with all those picks, because there's no guarantee that player you want to draft is going to become a great player. There never is. We see it all the time. It's a 50-50 proposition. And maybe with quarterbacks taking that high, it's a little better than 50-50. But if you can get more picks, if you can get proven players, I think you need to consider it. And the other thing the Raiders need to do, Joe, I don't know how much you talk about this, but they need to move Max Crosby. If he doesn't want to be there, he's 28.
Yeah, agree.
I mean, if they're going to turn it around, he's going to be out of his prime by the time they do. Get the picks now and start making your team better. Get the ammunition to begin to build a contender. They did the press conference this week, and they had the 3 Super Bowl trophies in front of the table. And I said on our show today, there should be a statute of limitations on how long you can display Super Bowl trophies. Because you're almost like trolling yourself with those 3 trophies. It's been 40 years since they won one.
Don't worry. We don't show ours around here. They go back to the 70s. Don't worry, Mike. You're right. We know that we are never disrespect Zonk and Larry Little and those guys like that. We don't. That's their own club. We don't do that. That's not a good idea. Hey, Mike. One last thing here too. Why we're talking about all this stuff. This quarterback class with Trinidad Chambliss now, and this thing's getting weaker and weaker, my man. God bless everybody trying to find a quarterback that has a chance to play next year.
Hey, advantage Kirk Cousins, who's going to get paid again.
Yes, he
is. He will be released by the Falcons on March 11th or March 12th. That was obvious when he redid his contract. It helps the Falcons with the cap charge between when they cut him in June 1. It encourages them, if not guarantees, they'll cut him before March 13. I see reporting pop up from time to time that he's going to be cut. It's like, folks, if you're paying attention when they did this contract, he's getting cut. He's going to be available, and there aren't going to be enough viable options. And the guy who's perfected the system of getting paid is going to get paid again.
Mike, thank you. Have a great weekend, bud. Take some time off, relax a little bit.
All right, pal.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk joining us this morning. I knew he loved the Bad Bunny, huh? One of the best shows he's ever seen. Hey,